What's up, guys? Jake, you're back in some Fruit of Grisaia. We're about to hear a really boring story from main boy Ryuji. Ryuji? That's not his name. I don't remember his name. Main character guy. He's gonna talk and we're gonna listen. It's gonna be great. I'm excited. You should be too. Because it's the story about a man who took a business trip to Gifu Prefecture. It was a group expedition with the purpose of field testing new equipment that had been deployed throughout his company. So let's get going. Wow, this is great. At the time, the man in question was a new employee, not even out of his training period. Nonetheless, he found himself taking a long, bumpy ride to the mountains on a company bus, accompanied by the chief of his special department. Great! The man didn't have the first clue why he'd been selected for the trip, let alone what he'd be expected to do on it. To make matters worse, he was sitting next to a powerful superior he barely knew. Well, it's your chance, rub elbows, suck his dick, get on his good side. In short, the man was about ready to vomit from sheer terror and anxiety, or throw up on him. People love that. It's endearing or something. He fought desperately to calm down, but his face was pale as a pale sheet, as it were. And then they were there. The bus finally reached its destination at the foot of Mount Kinka in Gifu after many unpleasant hours, but the man's relief was temporary as his boss informed him they'd be attending a large banquet in high class inn that night. In the mountain, apparently, why not? Corporate banquets were full of weird murmuring like you're hearing now. They're basically a cruel kind of talent show. New employees were expected to perform some skill for the amusement of the gathered VIPs. That's not real. That can't possibly be real. That would legally be torture. The newbies from each department mounted the stage one after the other. Gross. Quite a few croaked out popular karaoke ballads with stiff faces, but there are also some pretty competent juggling acts. Sure. Even one stand-up comedy duo, which got some laughs doing imitations of superiors. That's bold. You just started. The man watched the other acts with a fluttering heart. Oh, he's in love. His turn was approaching fast, but he was basically a walking, breathing lump of artistic incompetence, an asocial type without a single talent worth performing in front of others. Just he was wondering whether he could escape by pretending a sudden illness. The man was practically kicked onto the stage by the senior employees. For lack of a better thought, he started to sing. But the man didn't know any popular songs. Worse, he couldn't remember any of the standard folk songs or children's music that might have worked in a pinch. The man went instead with a theme song from a superhero TV show, Lightspeed General Makarov, which he'd loved as a kid. By this point, he couldn't help but feel a growing sense of despair. This was, of course, the man's first time singing in public, and he didn't have much of a voice. Within moments, he was showered in jeers from the audience. Ew, that's gross. There was a piano there, I guess. What the hell are you singing? What's wrong with you? Oh my god, stop. Hey, asshole, you just making that up on the spot. That's enough, get off the stage, you suck! Although he wasn't the type to break down in tears, the man felt a deep urge to dig himself a hole and crawl into it. Only sheer stubbornness carried him through the last humiliating note. It's almost like forcing people to sing for you is a bad idea. When it was over, the man quickly bowed from the stage and raced back to his seat. That story sucked, but it was at least short. On that walk back from the stage, the man had a thought. I wish I'd learned a popular song or two. The end! Sure, I guess. I don't know. I don't think there's really a moral to this story. It's just like, don't be a fucking dingus. Well, if you look at it that way, you're right. But the story isn't over yet. Oh my god, you got my hopes up. Why would you end the story and then go back? This is the worst. Fucking kill me. With the equipment test wrapped up. What? The man had the thing they came there to do, not the karaoke equipment. I was like, they all performed. The man returned to his new assignment at a branch office in Shizuoka. Someone called out to him as he was dealing with the first transfer paperwork. So, you were the newbie who sang Makarov at the banquet in Gifu? The man's breath caught in his throat. And his heart, apparently. I guess he murdered a guy and buried him under the fucking floorboards. He'd figured out by now the main part of his superiors was to flaunt their authority by picking up the smallest mistakes and then rubbing his nose in them. Sounds like a great place to work. The manager speaking to him was infamous for his zealous leadership of his underlings. Frankly, the man was about ready to piss his pants. Another way to endear yourself to people. He swallowed and chewed his lip. Hard to swallow your lips. Bitter thoughts running through his head. What's he gonna blame on me? How long will I have to grovel? But the manager's words took him by surprise. And he had a trumpet, I guess. I loved that show when I was a kid. The man blinked, dumbfounded by this unexpected development. You from Hiroshima, kid? According to the manager, Makarov reruns were played relentlessly every weekday afternoon on the local station. Practically every child in Hiroshima grew up watching the show. But the man wasn't a Hiroshima native. In the area he lived in as a child, the Children's Encore Theater program would broadcast old episodes of the show every summer. He just happened to see a few. Even so, the manager must have been really pleased to find a fellow Daimakarov fan, as he began to pull a few strings to the man's benefit. One night after work, the man returned to his bed in the company dorm. What? That's not real. That's horrific. To find a white plastic bag had been tucked underneath the sheets on his neatly made bed. Did they kill his horse? What the fuck is this? He didn't remember putting it there himself. You don't just put plastic bags in your bed? What a weirdo. And when he asked around, nobody else had any idea where it come from. The bag contained a huge jelly roll and a cup of instant ramen. Well, that's fine. That's not weird. As a new employee, the man had to eat dinner at a set time of 5 p.m., but by 10 p.m., lights out time at the dorm, all the trainees would be starving. Why? Sure, yeah. This supplemental meal was therefore a very considerate present. Was it? The man had an idea who was responsible. Most likely, his Makarov buddy was at the top was the only one who could have pulled it off. Okay, so they keep them in dorms and don't let them eat when they want. Are they children or employees? On top of the early dinner time, learning the ropes as a trainee is particularly tiring. His Makarov buddy probably figured he'd have a hard time getting his young buddy to fall asleep on an empty stomach. The man actually didn't have a particularly big appetite. Wasn't the type to be troubled by irregular meals. But then again, as a new employee, he didn't have much money he could spend freely on snacks and such. A little sugar was extremely welcome. If I get caught, they'll get punished too. So the man split the smuggled food with the other trainees in his room. They all devoured their shares greedily. As the presents from his Daimakarov buddy, at the time they were known as the Daimakarov Supply Drop, and that's not a very creative name, continued. That talentless, quiet, and hobbyless triple threat contender for the asocial crown suddenly found himself getting along with the group in the dorm, all thanks to the Daimakarov connection. And 3 months later, the man's training period came to an end. It was once again his Daimakarov buddy whose recommendation got him assigned to the Chiba branch office he'd hoped for. This story sucks. It's terrible. It's long, and it has long words that I don't know how to say. In other words, when it comes to hobbies and interests, anything is fine. Finding friends you can talk to about some common interest with is a really valuable thing. Sometimes something that small can be the trigger for gaining a huge leg up in life. That's the moral of the story. Thank you for explaining it. Wow, excellent analysis. I'm glad you were paying attention to that long, boring story. Fuck you. I thought this was a pretty meaningful story. Did you? You thought that was a meaningful story? It wasn't. That story sucks dick. I guess it didn't quite get across. Yeah, basically, the moral of the story is, like, just fucking do something. Like, yeah, great moral, great story, dude. I'm glad it took about 10 hours to fucking tell. Well, I mean, more or less. When you're young, you should mess around with all sorts of things. Just try and find something that grabs you, even if it's stupid crap. Wow, Yuji, that's so sweet. I was close with Ryuji. It's just Yuji, no R. Look at that. Maybe I'm playing too much Persona. After all that spacing out, that's a pretty sharp question. It wasn't actually that sharp. She was just like, what do you do? What's your thing? I glanced down towards the pile of borrowed books I'm holding in my hands. I suppose. Right now I don't have anything other than reading that qualifies. These people are so boring. Get a job! This, I feel like we're not really relating. This isn't a conversation. You aren't really listening to a word I say, are you? Well, not to say that you need to. Wow, Yuji, have some self-confidence. Guys, she's hungry. She's hungry. I mean, just go eat. I don't fucking care. This conversation sucks. Go get a money to make something. Okay, great. We've been invited to snacks. Excellent. I love snacks. Everyone likes snacks. Yeah, if I'm in the mood. Ooh, a real tsundere over here, playing hard to get. I love it. Okay, bye-bye. We're done. I see. I learned my own lesson from this conversation. If there's a mention of food in the middle of a story, Makino won't remember another word. I'll have to be more careful next time. Or, just don't tell boring stories. That's another option. There are a lot of options. Anyways, now we're in Yuji's room, so that's exciting. Look, wow, he's put up so many decorations. During my middle school days in America, my middle school days, why is that in air quotes? I don't know, but I got a number of strange nicknames from my classmates. Asshole, Dinglebop. Mainly because none of them bothered to remember a Japanese name. Yuji? That's real, that's a tricky one. On the predictable side, there was Jap and Shorty. My family name, Kazami, got abbreviated to KZ as well. I feel like that's just as long as Kazumi. Kazumi. K-Z. It's like one extra syllable. However, among my numerous nicknames, the only one that stuck through basic training was Gar. Were you in middle school or the military? Whatever. Short for garbage eater. Wow, how sweet. It's not that I had a reputation for dumpster diving. It was a reference to my tolerance for shitty food. As to how I earned it, the story is very simple. Please, no more stories. The KP made us slop on Fit for Pigs, and I ate it without grimacing. Freeze-dried scrambled eggs. Ew. Pork and beans made from scraps of ham. Bread with peanut butter. What's wrong with bread with peanut butter? That's just like peanut butter. Peanut butter's fine. And ridiculously stringy mystery meat were the staples. Seriously, what's wrong with peanut butter? Peanut butter's good. Fuck off. Every one of them had a weird chemical aftertaste, and they were all disgusting. Rumor had it the secret sauce was gasoline. As for the chocolate cake we got for dessert, it was more commonly and accurately described as a desert. Oh, do you get it? The words are very similar. That cake was legendary for being inedible. No matter how starved you were, it would end up stuck in your throat as a dry lump. But I ate it, and all the rest, without complaining. What a hero. Probably because I was living rough from a young age, I've never been what you'd call a picky eater. To put it simply, as long as my belly was full and my body was getting what it needed, the taste wasn't a concern. So even those 3 torturous meals a day didn't inspire any serious complaints from me, but the people around me must have thought I was some sort of freak. Yeah, who knows where they got that idea, Yuji. And after a while, my nickname became Garbage Eater, and then eventually just Gar. Hey, Gar! Just how shitty a cook was your mom? I had a set response to this one. My mom didn't cook much. She was too busy screwing your dad's brains out. Oh, got him, zinger. My mom's a whore. That's the joke. Okay, Yuji. We need to work on your burns, buddy. As far as my jokes go, I thought it was kind of witty, but that line didn't get that many laughs. I guess my delivery was a bit too stony. Well then, what should I do for dinner? I asked aloud to an empty room. I don't particularly feel a desire to eat, but if you don't take meals at 3 regular times a day, it throws off your body's clock and leaves you more susceptible to fatigue. To tell the truth, I view meals as nothing more than an element of maintaining my physical condition. Yuji's the most boring motherfucker in the universe. Who doesn't enjoy food? As long as I'm getting sufficient nourishment, I'm not that caught up on when or what I eat. When I spend any effort considering things like that, all I end up thinking about is how much of a pain in the ass it's gonna be to make something. And eventually the act of eating itself starts to feel like a nuisance. My normal pattern is just to throw something together from my supply of canned and dried food. Ooh, listen to that Foley work. It's like she's on the other side of the door. It's like I'm there. And now she's in. Wow, yeah. Why'd you even knock? Why don't I lock my door? I don't know. These are the questions I have. Well, this is my room. Amane barged in like she owns the place, no longer even bothering to knock. I mean, she yelled, that's similar, but I'm already getting used to it, I guess. Probably because I've experienced a lot of emergency summons. It didn't get to me that much in the first place. Why did you wait for Yuji? Fuck him. I mean, like, you can fuck him later, but, like, nobody cares about him is what I'm getting at. As she speaks, I notice Amane's holding a plate piled with crab legs in her hands. You didn't go for crab legs, Yuji? History's greatest monster. Yuji's an asshole. I do recall such an event. I also recall responding if I'm in the mood. Not that I'd definitely be there. Yes, but I said you and Makina should go ahead and eat if I didn't show up on time. No, Yuji's a garbage human. Do you understand? Not really. Okay, this is a really great talk. Like, not that I'm not loving this, but let's move on to something more exciting. Okay, to be fair though, crab rolls are real and are good. Well, okay, that's just her being like 12 though. Like, don't hold that against her, you know? Probably just means Makina places more importance on how easy it is to eat. Honestly, I think I'd go for crab paste over crab myself. You guys are the worst. I swear. Yeah, thank you, Amani. There are starving children in Africa, probably, as far as we know. Huh, that's certainly true. Aww, stop it. That's so sweet, kind of. Look, I wasn't really complaining. I can take care of the shell on my own. Just eat the shell. Be a man, Yuge. I mean, there's this perfectly good bed over here. I just start gnawing on the mattress, you know? Dude, I didn't even cook that rice. I just eat it raw, dude. I'm a fucking monster. Hey, hands off! Monty's wandered off into my kitchen and is examining things as she pleases. After confronting the contents of my mess kit cooker, she opens the door to my refrigerator and starts taking stock of my supplies. Wow, that sounds delicious. Do you just eat raw mayonnaise? You fucking degenerate. I hate you, Yuji. Don't eat mayonnaise, it's gross. Look, it's only been a few years. It's fine. I opened it at lunch. Get off my bag. Why is it this feels strangely embarrassing? Because you are a degenerate asshole. I hate you. It's not like I have anything troublesome in the fridge. Except for all the things she's listed. In the first place, where does she get off calling canned radish this thing? It's well known among canned food connoisseurs as almost decent and pretty much edible. Is this woman looking down on the brave men and women who have gained courage from canned food throughout the years? What are you talking about? What even are you? As I silently burn with righteous indignation, Monty brazenly starts running tap water into my rice cooker. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Does that work? That can't possibly work. That doesn't seem right. I don't care if it's hard. That's what she said. But Tish. Fucking got him. Probably because I'm used to eating canned stuff that comes out arid and stiff as a wax candle, I'm pretty tolerant of tough food. Why? I'm surprised he even has eggs. They're probably rotten. He probably eats them shell and all, you know what I mean? I don't care, but what are you planning? She's gonna poison you with eggs. Yeah, Yuji, this is gonna be hard to believe, but someone's doing something nice for you. Just enjoy it. Huh. Or be an ass about it. I mean, that works too. Well, I suppose pretty much anyone can handle fried rice. Especially for a woman. Real great. The somewhat predicated assumption is that you have a basic skill like that. Fact is, out of all the women I've met so far, the only one who couldn't make edible fried rice was my master. I don't know what that sound effect was, but I'm upset. Still, I can't quite hide a certain anxiety. Not that Amane is paying any attention, humming to herself as she cracks open the eggs. Oh, she's like whisking it, I guess? After shaking salt and pepper onto the egg, she mixes in the lightly rinsed rice, then adds bits of crab meat, only about half what she brought, and a finely chopped radish. She heats a frying pan coated with mayonnaise rather than oil. Hang on, I'm gonna go throw up real quick. Adds the lettuce and spinach she plundered from my fridge, and throws in the rice mixture according to her own timing. Sticking the back of her ladle into the mix, she vigorously clatters it around the frying pan, messily stir-frying the food. When Amaya decides it's done, she uses the bowl as a mold to form the fried rice into a perfect hemisphere, then toss it onto the plate. This wouldn't look out of place in a Chinese restaurant. She spits on it. Dressing leftover crab meat with mustard and mayo, she drops it with a thud on the heap of fried rice on the plate. Oh, this is kind of cute, actually. So she says, but it hasn't even been 10 minutes since Amane started to cook. The imposing pile of steaming fried rice on my plate looks pretty damn impressive for something cobbled together out of leftovers and in such a short time. No, Yuji's pathetic. Like, don't bother. He doesn't have guests or friends. Not necessary. I've got what I need. The table is a small coffee table for that one Sachi dragged... For one that Sachi dragged out of some storeroom as a stopgap measure. The frying pan and what tableware I have are things I picked out carelessly at a local 100 yen and hardware stores, but since I'm living alone, it's all perfectly adequate. No point in getting more dishes when I'm only eating off one. Just means more things to wash. Please tell me you have exactly one plate. He has one plate. I hate him. I hate him! Noticing something as she speaks, Amani returns to the kitchen and starts to rustle through a plastic bag in the corner. Yeah, you know what? It's precious childhood memories, but just throw it out. Huh? Yeah. I've been throwing my empty oolong tea bottles in that bag, and before I knew it, I had something of a pile. But I was uncertain about the timing to throw them out? Just throw them out! Oh, it's garbage. It doesn't matter when you do it. Great. What are the odds? With well-practiced movements, she peels off the labels, removes the caps, and skillfully cuts their plastic rings with the tip of a kitchen knife. Finally, she lightly rinses the bottles themselves with tap water. Judging from the smooth motion of her hands, she's repeated this often enough to gain mastery of an assembly line worker. Clearly, she's something of an eco-friendly large woman. I can assure you, you don't have to wash paper plates. It's fine. I'll wash it with my tears later. No, I can take care of that much myself. Sorry for the hassle. Oh, I mean, yeah, she already figured us out, boys. That was awkward. With a quick goodbye, Amane heads out of the room, not waiting for my impressions of the crab fried rice. I had the idea that a busybody woman like her would be more likely to hang over my shoulder pestering me for compliments, but, she just popped in all of a sudden, cooked for me in a flash, then left just as quickly. Might be the influence of dealing with that whimsical machina all the time. Oh, let's eat. Unfortunately, I don't have a Chinese spoon in this room. What? So I'll have to make do with the standard Western variety. Sure, I jam my spoon into the mountain of steaming fried rice and quickly throw some into my mouth. Not bad at all. It's no raw mayonnaise. Even someone as disinterested in food as me, can tell when something tastes good. The salt seasoning feels a bit thin, if only there were a way to add salt. But this is probably how it should be if you're thinking about healthy sodium intake. Because, you know, we're like 15, we gotta think about our sodium intake. What? No, it would be insulting to compare this to the crab my master made. It's also different from the stuff you'd get at a high-priced Chinese restaurant. It tastes like your standard fried rice. What's with this flavor? When I was living alone with my mother as a child, I remember eating fried rice that tasted like this. Okay, before we get into the story about Yuji's mom, I'm going to draw this episode to a close. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you like that, like, subscribe. Be sure to tune next week for more Fruit of Grisaia with yours truly. I'll see you guys then.